The following program is brought to you by Whiteman TV,
Good evening and welcome to the Stratford and District Chamber of Commerce Municipal Election Debate. My name is MJ Thompson. I manage Festival Marketplace Shopping Center, and I'm a volunteer board member and the current chair of the chamber. And we have several board members around this room as well as many esteemed volunteers from local businesses helping us put on this debate. Sarah Hamza is also a board member and chair of the Government and Civic Affairs Committee and has been organizing the candidates for this event, as well as Jennifer, our office manager. Your Chamber of Commerce has had a presence in this community since 1860 when we were first incorporated. Our mission is to be the organization that is committed to being the voice of business by championing economic prosperity and an exceptional quality of life, which we have. In keeping with that, our history and objective is to promote good government and sound legislation at all levels of government. The Chamber is proud to host this candidates debate for the upcoming municipal election being held on Monday, October 22nd. Our goal is to focus candidates on issues important to the business community, inform voters and our members, promote transparency and accountability among elected officials. We want to thank our sponsors for this event, Orr Insurance and Vancia Financial Group. Jeff Orr and Mike Vancia will be the moderator assistants, and our timekeepers are Nancy Orr and Natalie Moore. This event is being filmed by Rogers and Whiteman TV, and airing schedules for their channels will be posted on the Chamber website after the debate. Eddie Matthews, the morning show host of 107.1 Juice FM, will be the moderator for this evening and provide the information for the event format. Eddie is a well-known and trusted voice in our local community. We are confident in his ability to moderate the debate in a way that is fair and respectful to all candidates. We will now begin the councillors' debate for those of you that are the mayoral debate for those of you that have joined us at this time. Eddie?
Thank you, MJ. Thanks very much. Good to be with you folks tonight. Nice to see some friendly faces. We got a busy night ahead of us. I should let you know we do have spotters around, so if you do have a question and you haven't posted it already, wave your hand and the spotters will be around to answer and to grab your question to give to any of the councillors or to the candidates tonight. We'll do some house cleaning for you as well. And in the words of Anthony Chimolino, would you please turn off your phones, and if you have to have any gum or hard candy, please unwrap it now. Let's get right to things right now. We're going to be starting alphabetically this evening, and we will be starting with Andrew Fraser. Mr. Fraser.
Hi there, my name is Andrew Fraser. I'm running for mayor. I am fairly excited to be taking part in this. To have an opportunity to run for office in this city is something that's really special. I moved here a few years ago with my family. We looked all across Canada. We looked from PEI to Vancouver. And we settled on Stratford because we felt that it had the basis for everything that we wanted to raise our three boys in. I have twin boys that are 7 and my little guy's 5. And I wanted to be in a community that had a lot to offer them. And Stratford does. There's a lot of work to be done though. I was raised on Lake Simcoe, about an hour north of Toronto, across the lake from Barrie. Went to school at U of T. Since then, I've moved into mortgages, real estate, and investments, and I've been doing that for 10 years. I don't do any business in Stratford. My business is from Windsor to Ottawa, up to the Kawarthas and Muskokas. And I made a point not to do any business in Stratford because I wanted my boys to know me as a dad and not to have my name or picture sort of plastered around town. So that being said, I think that the focus of council moving forward should be on community development, community interaction, a community center. The festival is a freight train. I love the theater. I was at the theater twice last week. But I think the focus of council needs to shift to focus on its residents. There's 30,000+ people in this city, and they need to be paid attention to. There are so many issues out there, especially in the arts. When we think of the arts, it's not just the festival, right? There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of community organizations that just aren't getting the spotlight anymore, and we need to direct that back. 30 seconds. That being said, I would like to focus on the arts, on taking care of our youth and young businesses. We need to focus on that. They're the ones that are taking the baton. We have to focus on young business and young people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fraser. And the way that they're doing this, just so you're not confused when they're doing alphabetical, it's first name. So we'll be doing that throughout the evening, okay? Second up, Dan Matheson, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start by thanking the Stratford District Chamber of Commerce for organizing this evening's forum, and thank all of you for taking the time to hear candidates directly, and also for bringing forth your ideas and concerns and taking an active and informed role in the future of our community. It is in the same spirit that I'm seeking to be re-elected as mayor. I've had the honor of serving the people of Stratford as your mayor, and I've always strived to provide dedicated and experienced leadership that our city deserves. I have worked diligently with council to ensure the prudent use of your tax dollars by achieving the best possible return on major investments that will improve our economic prosperity while strengthening our sense of community, both for today's citizens and future generations. In this regard, I'm especially proud of the many large-scale initiatives we have completed this term. In social infrastructure, we expanded the number of child care spaces at Anne Hathaway Daycare by 49 spaces, and we've broken ground on new construction for the first of 55 affordable housing units at the former fairgrounds site. We've implemented improvements to the city's hydro grid, and through a partnership with Whiteman Communications, Whiteman is investing $43 million in our community to improve internet availability and speeds throughout the city at reduced rates. We have approved the development of a new industrial lands for continued economic growth. In community development, we are an active partner in the development of the Stratford Perth Rotary Hospice by providing $1.5 million towards the building of the hospice. And finally, in job creation, we've managed to keep Stratford's unemployment rate well below that of Ontario. By way of comparison, the most recent labor statistics data lists the unemployment rate in our community at 3.2%, while the provincial average is at 5.7%. That does identify, though, a need for skills to help maintain the number of jobs needed by our manufacturers and our employers within our community. Going forward over the next 4 years, I consider the top priorities to be continued strong economic development that integrates our existing industries, manufacturing, tourism, service industry, and agriculture, with new initiatives occurring in sectors such as information technology and food processing. We need to continue to invest in our road and sewer infrastructure. We need to continue the Connect to Skills project and skills development for those looking for new employment opportunities and looking to move from Ontario Works to full employment. Council must also continue to pursue partnership opportunities with the federal and provincial government for the building and expansion of affordable housing in our community in an effort to execute on our 10-year homelessness and a housing plan. I believe we need to develop a community mental health strategy with all stakeholders, from the boards of education to our employers to our community groups. I believe we need to continue to work on the bike and pedestrian master plan, which is in year 4 of a 10-year initiative. And finally, we need to develop a community hub in downtown Stratford that integrates seniors, youth, and community facilities and programming with a new YMCA. As someone who is running on my record.
We've got time up on that one.
Thank you.
We've used the 3 minutes. Thank you for that. Third candidate. Our third candidate is Mr. Drake. Tom, would you like to speak for 3 minutes?
My name is Tom Drake.
And Tom, if we can get that microphone up close to you as well, too.
Is that better?
There we go.
Okay. My name is Tom Drake, and I'm very pleased to be running as a candidate for the mayor of the city of Stratford. My vision for Stratford is one that allows our children to find a job here and raise their families, and provides a vibrant quality of life for everybody at every age. I was born and raised in Stratford with grandparents that worked for the CNR. As a student here, I did a lot of gardening and outside maintenance works so that I could pay to go on to university. I graduated with a math and science degree from Western and a Doctor of Dental Surgery from University of Toronto. In this career, I've been involved with the Political Action Committee of the Ontario Dental Association, and I've been lobbying to improve dental services for patients, both provincially and locally. And I've been responsible for bringing dental programs into elementary schools as well as nursing homes in the area. I've only ever worked with my brother in business, so you know that there is no cronyism in my business. In the course of running my small businesses, I've been dealing with other municipalities as well as the city of Stratford. I would like to import the best practices from these other municipalities to make our administration more efficient and friendly. I've listened to many suggestions during this campaign, but I think what we need to focus on is transportation, diversifying the local economy, and the development of appropriate housing. And like all small business owners, I worry about high debt levels and financial uncertainty. I'm also old enough to remember my grandparents living quite comfortably in Stratford without ever needing a car. So we need to redesign our current system to bring back that lifestyle. I'd like to see frequent continuous bus service along the Huron, Ontario, and Erie Street corridors with connecting neighborhood routes. Stratford Transit can also be expanded to provide connections to the surrounding regions with buses and modern trains. One big thing we need as well to ease the congestion in the city center is north-south and east-west express routes to take the bypass traffic away from the city center and also make it safer for the bicycles and things that people want to use in the downtown. I've also lived here through the decline of the railways, the disappearance of the furniture and textile industries, and multiple retreats of the auto parts sector. So I would like to ensure that we have a widely diversified economy. Learning from the lessons of the past, I want Stratford to use its one natural resource, the rich farmland surrounding the city, to develop agricultural enterprises. I also want to attract sustainable green energy related manufacturers.
And Tom, your time is up. We've used up 3 minutes already. We'll come back to that, okay? Thank you.
The first debate question. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. We will start at the far end with Mr. Fraser. And everybody will get a minute to respond to that as well, too. And we'll then debate after that for 3 minutes. The Cooper site. There are residents and business owners concerned that the Cooper site hub may never reach completion. After the recent court ruling in favor of the city of Stratford, what does the continuation of the project look like, and how will business in Stratford be a part of this project? Mr. Fraser, we'll start with you. And hold up your microphone, please.
Well, there was some progress, I understand, regarding that. It's by no means settled. I have done business for 10 years, being able to speak to people and bring people to the table. I've put forth an offer to Lawrence Ryan just to sit down with all council members just in an open forum and have his concerns raised. So we all know what's on the table. So it's an open book. I mean, this affects all the residents of this city, and I think everybody should have a say in that. I believe we can come to terms, literally over a table. That's what I do, and I don't see that not happening.
Okay. Mr. Matheson, you're next. You have 1 minute.
Sure. The city's expropriated the land, and under the Expropriation Act, which is governed by the province of Ontario, we made a cash payment to Mr. Ryan in 2009. He took the money and he cashed it. The city of Stratford based that payment on appraisals that we were provided at the time. Since that time, Mr. Ryan has chosen that he believes he has been underpaid. He has sought leave to appeal to the Ontario Divisional Court, and last week the Ontario Court of Appeal has skimmed back the argument with regards to his development, and it's back to valuation. We are waiting for Mr. Ryan to produce an appraisal, and we are some 9 years since we expropriated the land to do so. I believe we've been fair in the matter. I believe it's in the best interest of the city to move forward. And I believe that if there was an opportunity for frank and honest and open discussion, that would have happened many years ago. It is in litigation now, and that's why we have lawyers, and I think it's in the city's best interest to stay with the course.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Drake? Tom, you have 1 minute if you'd like to respond to that. And hold that microphone up close. 1 minute.
I'm going to talk fast here because the public needs to have some information, stuff that I didn't know about until I started to run my campaign. But the first thing that you need to know is the Cooper site can't be ripped down because of the Lac-Mégantic rules that made nobody allowed to put a new building up within 200 feet of a railroad track. So that means that we have to work with the building that is there. Secondly, the rules go like this. When a municipality expropriates land, the municipality that does the expropriating is responsible for the legal costs and opportunity costs for both parties. So with that in mind, we have a cost obligation that we're not going to get out of. So my solution to the Cooper site is to, minute I get in office, get 3 appraisals for the property, find out what the property is actually worth today, and then find out what the city's lawyers have to say about the position the city has, and then after that try to make a deal.
Okay, Tom. And also, really keep that mic close to you as well, too, okay? We'll open it up for debate right now. Would the other 2 candidates like to respond? Mr. Matheson.
Well, the city has appraisals, Tom, and the Expropriation Act is based on the valuation the day the city took it. There are 3 options, and the Divisional Court has said. It can either be October 16, 2006, when the city signed the first agreement with the university. It could be the date in December of 2008 when council met and voted to expropriate. And the latest date it can be is in early 2009 when we actually passed the bylaw to expropriate the land. So getting an appraisal today, you'd actually be paying for 9 years of valuation you don't need to do. And that's what the Expropriation Act clearly lays out. I would tell you this, that adaptive reuse of that building, if you've seen the city's community hub plan, it uses adaptive reuse of the building. It talks about trying to use the existing superstructure there, and it was through a public process that the public came to using urban strategies earlier this year, and it's been published online, and there were open houses where the public came and talked about adaptive reuse, and I believe council heard that message. Lastly, I want to let everyone remember the mall at Blandford Blenheim down in Woodstock where Toyota basically expropriated the land so they could build their new factory. That took 6 years to, of course, settle. And these are not quick processes.
We're well past 6 years. And what are the legal costs right now? You have the numbers. You have numbers for everything. You have the numbers.
Sure.
So what are they?
Well, I'll tell you that we're probably in excess of $3 million in legal fees. But at what point do you stop defending the public interest and not follow the legislation and just give in?
I don't think the public interest is to let something lay dormant for 20 years. It's not in the public interest. The public interest is to get something achieved, keep the ball moving, right? Use the land, build the land. If Stratford was caught with its pants down, own up and just move on.
No, I don't believe we were caught with our pants down. If this had gone as well as any other expropriation had in the province, there would have been an appraisal from the landowner that says, this is what you owe me, and they would have produced it.
Dan, it's been a cluster mix up from the start, right? You voted to sell the land, right?
Less than a minute in the segment.
No, actually, in 1995, I'm sorry, you would be wrong. I just say this, you can call it a cluster. I would suggest you read the Expropriation Act because that's the law that governs the land, and not making deals with Mr. Ryan sitting around a table when there's litigation.
You didn't vote to sell that at any point.
I never voted to sell the land to Mr. Ryan. He did not buy it from the city.
30 seconds,
He took it over in a mortgage deal when somebody
No, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that.
Well, then,
let Tom jump in here.
I want to get my 2 cents worth in here, but the long and short of it is, the city's been foregoing $2 million worth of tax revenue by not having the city site developed. There isn't a city in the rest of the province that had a boondoggle on the go for 22 years. Thank you very much.
There we go. That'll end this segment of it, gentlemen. Our next question. Stratford, and we'll start with Dan Matheson on this one. Stratford has a shortage of both service and manufacturing workers, which limits our competitiveness when attracting new business. If these vacancies are not filled with qualified people, there's concern that business may be forced to move out of the city. If elected, what will you do to attract people to move to Stratford? And Mr. Matheson, you have 1 minute.
So there's a couple things. First of all, we started a Connect to Skills program with 6 employers, Dynamig, Eischen, Hendrickson, and Stackpole, to name but a few. We took 35 graduates, or we had 35 people in the program, 100% of them graduated. They were individuals that were on Ontario Works that needed to have some training, and they all came out of it getting manufacturing jobs. That's the type of solution you need. The other piece would be to open up more land so that the housing market has some competition within it, because right now we have low inventory on existing homes and low inventory on new homes. And that's how you drive the market. The city cannot set house prices. So as much as we want people to move here, we have no way of enticing them to do so except having a low unemployment rate with jobs that are available for them, a high quality of living, and an opportunity to get skills training if they need it. And that's the type of levers you use as a municipality, because you can't spend tax dollars to help industry bring people to town.
Thanks very much. Mr. Drake, would you like to respond to that?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do to attract businesses, we have to have businesses that people can work in and make a decent living from. Otherwise, they're not going to come. So we have to have businesses that are profitable and self-sustaining. And one of my platforms is to attract new green energy businesses, which will be attracted by potentially a tax rebate, so that these industries will come to Stratford rather than other cities. We also have to get use of the agricultural businesses around the area, and that will make for more stable businesses that people will come to Stratford and stay. So I think there's another thing that could be done too. The city has a lot of skill in training people for their own operation. The minute people are in high school, they should have training in safety, working at heights right out of high school, so that they can get jobs right away with the industries, and the industries will be glad to have them. And that will keep people here in Stratford.
Good stuff. Thank you, Tom. Andrew, would you like to respond to the question?
I think if you want to bring people to Stratford, you need affordable housing. And you can tell builders what they can build here. That's part of it. You can make smaller units. Stratford's the size of a dime, right? We don't have a lot of land. So building sprawling subdivisions is not the best course of action. I mean, we need residential density on a smaller footprint, and that does mean going up. But that also means that there's less infrastructure and there's a higher tax base on a smaller footprint. You can do that by talking with the developers and putting forth what you need a development to be. And there's more than enough developers out there. If some turn their nose up because they're not going to make enough money, there's others right behind them. So you can't cater to certain builders or developers, right? You put it out there.
We'll open that up for debate right now. Who would like to start and carry on this conversation?
I will. Tom, I agree with you that we need to have more agricultural investment in the city. That's why Master Feeds put a $6.7 million expansion on their elevators on Romeo Street in 2015. That's why Southwest Vets built a 14,000 square foot facility in Stratford and opened in 2016. And that's why Trillium Hatchery is a $23 million, 10,000 square foot hatchery located on Wright Boulevard. We get agriculture, we've got the diversity, and we're working towards it. Those types of investments take time to bring in, and we are looking at a diversification strategy. We've also had local businesses like DH Jutsi, VR3 Engineering expand. The city has had $3.7 million worth of industrial land sales in the last 4 years. We only have 27 acres of industrial land left. We have done very good at diversifying our economic base and bringing in. That's how the unemployment rate has got to where it is.
Andrew, you had the mic up first. Tom, go ahead.
The question about the attracting workers here to Stratford, I mean, affordable housing, I'd like to speak on that a little bit. But we have to have buildings that are taller, more dense, and we also need to be a pioneer in housing. There's many houses out there that are net zero. And I think if we had that in Stratford, we'd not only be a green community, but we'd also lead the way in technology and planning to accommodate buildings like that. And that would make it more affordable, because those houses are cheaper than large 2- and 3-story monstrosities.
Yeah.
So that's
exactly. That's exactly what I agree with that. That's exactly what I said. I agree with you. I think we also need to bring in, we need either grants or we need incentives for educated people to team up. If we can bring in business graduates and team them up with people in our manufacturing side. They can start new businesses. If multinationals aren't coming here, why are we not promoting our own people? That's really what I want to say about that. Why are we not doing that?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I say we are, actually. FIO Automotive spent $50 million in this community. Samsonite could have built a new distribution center in Brampton, but they built $14 million, 140,000 square foot here. Stackpole put on a 20,000 square foot expansion and spent $22.5 million. Vic West consolidated their operations and closed a facility in Cambridge and came to Stratford.
They're all from Stratford, are they? Those are born and raised people from, we're promoting our own there?
Those industries employ Stratford families and have for many years. Any of them, Schaeffler Bearings,
without a doubt, I'm saying, but if we're not getting the larger companies to come in, why are we not promoting our own people?
Well, first you have to understand, you need to grow your own industry first. It's far cheaper to grow them here than it's to fly around the world and try to get new people to get here. And trust me, I've been on lots of planes.
And we're going to end the 3-minute segment right there. We do need some more questions, I think. Have you got some questions coming in? But if folks, we do want to get you involved in this. We have spotters throughout the floor here, and if you have any questions, raise your hand. They'll come by and get you to tell them what your question is. One of the questions that we did have, and we'll start with Mr. Drake on this one. The question is, I would like to hear one clear goal for the city from each candidate. One clear goal, what you would like to see for Stratford.
I think my clearest goal would be to improve the transit system and the transportation in the city. And that's mainly the reorganization of a bus route. And I'd like to see buses running from the Sobeys Mall out there on Huron Street and down Ontario and out to the other mall at Canadian Tire. And that should be a frequent bus, like every few minutes, so that people don't need to wait very long to get on that bus. And that would alleviate a lot of the parking problems in the city. And as well, it would also get a lot of the cars off Ontario Street so that we have safer roads for bicycles and so on. I think that's a big initiative. It would also go a long way to making Stratford more affordable, because a certain number of people wouldn't need cars, and that would allow them to afford houses. So I think that's a big initiative.
Good. Andrew, what would you do?
Yeah, we need more buses. I'm not saying that like actual buses, but they need to be more frequent. We need express buses. We need the opportunity or the availability of buses so it doesn't take somebody 2 hours to get to where they need to go. An express bus in Stratford just makes sense. That's really simple. There's no reason that can't take place. You don't need to sit on a bus sort of meandering through the entire city when you need to go downtown and pick something up. That's why there's so many cars on the road, is because people say the bus just doesn't make sense. So if we have express buses, number one, it would just alleviate so much. And the times, sorry, that's what I was looking for. The times don't align with people's shift work Or people can't take jobs, or they have to take taxis home from work.
And
Because
we'll hold it at that one.
Thank you.
And for the final minute, Dan Matheson, what's the one clear goal you would like to have?
The one clear goal for me would be to see a community hub built, to put a new seniors complex together with a youth center and a new YMCA, and to actually promote a healthy, active living. That is the one clear goal, because it actually brings together seniors and youth in a focal point of our community downtown, next to where the new transit hub is being built for the city transit. And it's great because we have intercity bus transportation from a grant we received last spring that would run from London through St. Mary's to Stratford and on to Kitchener, and it would coordinate with a bus that would actually run across Perth County and bring people there. So that will become a focal point. The other reason why the community hub is important, it actually starts to develop the south end of the downtown core, and we're already seeing investments in the Bradshaw building with 70 to 80 student housing units. And that's the type of stuff that'll build up our neighborhoods and actually lead for services for our community.
Okay, let's open this up for a debate. Is there anything that you've heard that you would dispute or want to expand on?
yeah, again, with the buses, they would be used more if people could actually use them when they leave work, right? This is a tangible thing that can be done tomorrow, right? The idea of a wonderful hub is still a vision, right? Why don't we talk about things that are attainable now? An express bus and longer running hours will improve the community to such an extent. I don't have to sell you on some vision of a grand hub, right? We can talk about that once it's there.
How is it paid for?
The buses?
Yeah.
By the city.
Yeah, but we've got to have a budget for that.
Andrew, vision means you actually put a goal out there, and that's what I'm doing with the hub. I'll be really clear.
It's a 20-year vision.
1% of the tax levy is $600,000. We already subsidize the cost of public transit in the city.
Public transit around the world is paid for by municipalities. There isn't a cash positive public system on the globe.
Absolutely. And you know what? At some point, the community's ability to pay comes into play. And you have to ask
yourself. They will pay if there's a bus available for them. No. How can they pay for a bus if they got off work and there isn't a bus there to pay for?
How do people get to work in the morning right now?
They have to drive or take a cab.
No, at 6 a.m. the Stratford Transit Department runs special buses throughout the city and takes them out to the factories and drops them off.
And then 11 o'clock at night.
And at 3:30 in the afternoon we do the same and take them back out. And some employers have actually made arrangements for their staff to get rides home at the end of the evening by using other bus companies in the city. That's been going on for a while now. And the actual city transit route has been going on for quite a while.
Tom, did you want to jump in?
Is this on? I think part of the problem too is, we have to start thinking like a city. Most of the young people today, if they're students, aren't going to have cars, and they're still going to want to get around town, so transportation is an issue. But I think if we expand the university, then we're going to see that there's going to be a bigger demand for public transit. So I think if we concentrate on that, we'll be fine.
We've got about 30 seconds, gentlemen. All done? Okay, then we'll go on to our next question, and we'll start with Dan Matheson on this one. And then we'll go to Andrew and then Tom. What will you do to address the doctor shortage in Stratford?
Well, I'll tell you what we'll continue to do if I'm mayor, which is the Stratford General Hospital has a director of recruitment, Lori Roberts, who goes out and visits the medical schools, and on numerous occasions I've attended with her to meet with new physicians when they come to town. We used to have a doctor recruitment committee, and at the time the hospital came to us and said, actually what helps us recruit doctors is when you put money towards new equipment. And in that case, council decided to put money towards a CT scan, an MRI, and the redevelopment of the hospital, a $60 million project, and we committed $5 million to that. And they told us, if you do those types of things, we will go out and go to the medical schools and talk to them and bring you in when we need you, because they know what they need. They know whether they need general practitioners, family doctors, or specialists. I don't, and it's much better to have the hospital, who has a holistic view of the system, do it, than it is for politicians to meddle in something we have no idea about.
Okay, before we get to Andrew, hold on for just 1 second. I got to do one bit of house cleaning here. Can we get the councillors that are running the candidates running for council to make their way to the Mansbridge room, because the time is dwindling by here. The councillors, the candidates that are running for council, can you please make your way, and then we'll be bringing you up in about 20 minutes or so. My apologies, Andrew.
Well, I personally think he got taken to the cleaners. For a hospital to say how you get more family doctors is to put in an MRI machine doesn't really make sense to me. You need doctors. You need family doctors. Family doctor practitioners don't work out of hospitals. They don't use those machines. So why? Right. I don't. They recommend people to use the machines, right? But they're like, you have. My godfather was a physician. I grew up in that. You need places for them to practice, and you need incentives. They're not going to come. They need incentives. It's that simple.
Thank you. Tom, you've got 1 minute here.
I'm glad I have the last word on this because I'm a doctor myself. And I think I know a few things about how to keep doctors in town. If they have an investment in town, they're going to stay in town. So what we've seen in the past, when you have publicly funded clinics, oftentimes the doctors will come and go. In maybe 5 years, they're gone. So I've been here in my practice for 35 years because I have invested in an office in a building, and I'm not going to disappear too quickly. And we haven't seen that with the physicians in the last 10, 15 years. So the other thing that I can do as a mayor, I get to talk to doctors in the hospital. I'm on staff at 3 hospitals in the Huron-Perth area, and we get students. I also have done operations with students, and those people, I can talk to them directly and tell them what a great place Stratford is to live and how they can expect to have a quality of life that they wouldn't have in other places. So I'm confident I can get lots of doctors here. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Tom.
much.
And we'll open this up for debate. If anybody wants to jump in and continue on for 3 minutes here.
Well, I think most of us realize that the older doctors used to have 3,000 patients. Younger doctors today want 1,600. So for every 2 doctors that leave, we need 4 to replace. That's a challenge. The equipment matters to them because if they can't actually have efficient patient care, and the family health team, which is a provincial mandate where doctors can go together in groups, it becomes tough for us. That's when we got out of the medical recruitment business, because I can't tell doctors who they want to have as their partner in their family health team. What I can do, though, is make sure the equipment's good. We have tried and worked with them to recruit specialists, and I believe we're in a good position. We always need family doctors, and I get that, but I don't have the ability to walk into any medical school and have any more clout than the president of the Stratford General Hospital. And I will tell you one other thing that I think is important. The Schulich School of Medicine at Western has a clerkship program. They put 4th-year doctors in Stratford in the hospital already, so we are trying ways to have young doctors already here.
But nothing, all of this stuff has been done, right? There's been all of these things put forward that they said was going to bring in doctors, and they're not coming. We need family doctors. It's that simple. How do we, and I do agree with Drake.
Tom?
I'll give some information here. I'm a dentist, and I'm also on the Ontario Dental Association. In the last year alone, there was 300 extra licenses given out to dentists in the province of Ontario. These are from immigrants and refugees that are coming from places in the Middle East in particular. So the Fairness Commission has ruled in the past the licenses were restricted, but today they're not going to be restricted because of the Fairness Commission. So I expect we're going to see a lot of doctors coming into Canada, and there probably won't be a shortage in a short period of time.
Yep. Anything else, gentlemen?
Well, in my case, that will be a good thing because we'll have a really good hospital that's been redeveloped with first-class equipment, and those people will want to come here.
We've got another question from the floor here, and there's still time, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get your question in this one, and we'll start with Andrew on this one. The first impression by visitors to the city is an important factor. It determines the length of stay or whether or not they return. Should there be a minimum requirement for owners of vacant buildings or lots to maintain them in a respectable state.
100%. There should be no cause to hold them. I mean, there's been tax breaks provided by the city for years to leave things vacant. I think there should be an increased tax rate on them. They should be paying higher tax than anybody else to let something sit there because it detracts from the town. If people come by and see derelict buildings, they're going to think that there's a poor economic state in the town, right? They want to see something flourishing. They want to see facades that look brand new, even if they are 200 years old, right? You want to see these things. So yeah, there definitely needs to be something in place to put that to an end, really.
Okay, good. Tom, we'll direct it to you now.
I think the city needs to have rules. I think the city needs to have rules for vacant lots, and also the economic development of the city should be paying attention to where the vacant lots are and finding out when development is going to occur. I think that's a function that the administration could pay a little more attention to, and perhaps eliminate some of the vacant lots by offering opportunities to the owners of the lots.
Okay. Dan?
Well, Councillor Danielle Ingram and Kathy Vasilakos moved that the city of Stratford actually take away the vacant tax rate, which is 60% of the regular tax rate if your property is vacant after 6 months. What happened, it used to be mandated by provincial regulation, and that has now changed and allows the local municipality to make their own decision around that. And staff have actually, in preparation of the 2019 budget, are already working on a recommendation around that, so council can look at whether or not they want to put that in place and what kind of tax revenue they will generate. The caution on that is the minute you take that vacant rate away, the person could apply for a demolition permit and then just start tearing down buildings and get a cheaper tax bill altogether because there's no building on the property. And then we'll be into a fight about whether or not we're letting people take down buildings that people find to have significance or interest in the future of the city. So it's a very thin line you have to walk on that.
Okay. We will open this up for debate. If you wanted to continue on, Tom, it looked like you had something you wanted to say. We'll debate it here for 3 minutes.
I thought when there's been a lot of discussion about heritage buildings and that, I mean, a lot of other countries also have funds where the people can borrow money to keep the historical buildings going. Some of these historical buildings may be expensive to maintain, so the owner will then want to have a demolition permit, which is not in the best interest of the city necessarily. So if we had some form of program where they could borrow money perhaps and renovate the historical features of the building, I think that would keep a lot more buildings going. So I think we need to look at something like that.
I think St. Thomas, I believe, has something like that in place, where, well, there's a fund available, right? Grants and whatnot to redo the facades, to keep the place looking as pristine as you want. Like, you want that level of cleanliness, that level of historic value in your town. So I would have no qualms at all. I think that should be supported and funded.
And that's great because we actually have one in Stratford. We have a grant program where you can get up to $25,000 interest-free loan, or you can get a $25,000 and a $25,000 grant if you improve the facade of your property. And we already have a loan program in place. It's called tax incremental financing, and we'll phase your property tax in over 10 years. So we take the assessed value today as it sits. We take the assessed value at the end of your renovation, and the increase in taxes, we phase it in over 10 years, and that is our contribution towards people doing improvements to the upper stories and their parts of their property. And that's been in the books in Stratford for about 10 or 15 years.
I don't think you've been doing a good job about getting that out there, though. I mean, it's wonderful that it's in place, but nobody knows about it. That's an issue.
No, I think that's...
Why are people talking to me about it? And asking about it.
I think that's a stretch.
If the information isn't there.
I can give you the names of downtown business owners that know very well what it is, and they have used it in the past.
Well, obviously the ones that have used it know about it, Dan.
Well, Andrew, I hate to tell you this, but if you're in business, and you are, if we have to walk up and down the street and spoon feed things to people, that's a little bit of a challenge.
I don't think that's spoon feeding.
It goes out through the city center. Every building downtown is part of the Business Improvement Association of the city. The BIA, the Stratford City Center, know that regulation. They tell their people about it, and we exercise it all the time.
Tom, any final thing you want to say before we close it? We have 30 seconds left if you'd like to say anything.
Is this on?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
There's a bit of a delay.
Yeah. Back to the vacant and derelict lots. I think that needs to be something that the city officials need to inform the property owners as to what their options are and help them along the way to get some development. And that's all good for the city.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Our final question before we get to closing comments from our candidates. We'll start with Dan and then go to Tom and Andrew on this one. Tell us about the debt level and what will you do about it? Dan Matheson.
Well, the city's debt level peaked somewhere in around about $90 million in about 2010. And that's after we spent $250,000 improving the storm and sanitary sewer post the 2002 flood. Today, or at the end of this year, the city's debt level will sit at $68 million. We pay roughly $8 million a year off our debt. Now, one of the challenges we have is we have ongoing infrastructure needs, and we try to balance not adding long-term debt. To give you the numbers, in 2015 it was 80.6, 2016 74.5, 2017 it was 68, and it'll be 68 at the end of this year because we had a number of projects we actually debt financed. $2 million of it actually is going into the affordable housing project at the fairgrounds. So it's a balance of maintaining debt and paying it off and still doing infrastructure so we do not fall behind again. And our average tax increase over the last 4 years, including education, was 2.7%.
Thank you, Dan. Tom?
My biggest concern about the city debt is the fact that there's been no forward calculations on what the city is going to have to end up paying with the Cooper site. That's not budgeted into anything. And secondly, the business with infrastructure, obviously not enough money has been set aside. I've been hearing a lot of complaints about roads that are rough and that need to have money spent on them. So I think we've got problems with city budgeting, and in that respect that we've got to know what we're going to spend down the road, because I think we're going to have some massive costs, especially with the Cooper site, putting the hub up. The building is going to cost a ton of money to renovate, and there's been nothing said in the papers that I've seen as to how much that we're going to actually spend.
Thank you, Tom. Andrew, we'll let you close us out. We're fighting time just to keep TV timeout and everything, so we'll have you do the final, and then we'll get into closing comments from the candidates.
Thank you. I am a fiscal conservative. I don't think that we need to be ballooning anything. We need to pay our debt down. We need to be in the black. We have the highest, from what I can find, the highest tax rate in Ontario. I'm not sure what we get for it necessarily. 2 points, and now we're set to go up another 2.7% next year, I think. It's shocking on some level. Again, I don't have access to all the information that the mayor does, but we have to pay our debt down. I mean, we have to be in the black. We can still make things work in the community without ballooning our debt. That's good.
Okay, thank you. We're fighting time here, Dan, so perhaps we can do this at another time. We want to get to our closing comments, and if we can start, we'll start with Andrew, then go to Dan, and Tom, would you like to have your closing comments, please? You have a 2-minute close. We'll start with you.
Well, I believe that I can approach this town, this city, this council with fresh eyes. I have worked in real estate and mortgages and finance for over a decade, and I can bring people to the table. I can make things happen. I believe that the community should be the main focus of this new council. The festival is a freight train, right? And unfortunately, I think a lot of the community gets overlooked. People will tote that it employs 3,000 people in town, and that's amazing. but that's less than 10% of our population. So who are we really looking out for? Our youth need to be engaged. Our youth need to be supported. Our young businesses need to be supported. I think that the arts need spaces to perform. It's too expensive. We can't, they can't perform at the theaters, right? Everybody thinks, oh, well, we have 3 theaters in town. Why can't people perform there? Because it costs $100,000 to put on something there, because you have to pay for the hair and makeup, even if you're a single guitar player. Like there's just ridiculousness around it. But I get the union rules, and that's that, and we respect them. So let's do something for our community and give them a space to perform. I really believe I can make a good impact here, a strong impact. I don't do any business in town. I have no business interests in town. My only purpose for running is to make the city better for its community and obviously my children. That is my only interest in running for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Dan Matheson, you have 2 minutes for your closing comments.
Thanks. Well, I've had the privilege of being mayor in this community for 4 terms. I'm asking for a 5th. I might not be your most favorite person, but I believe I give you an honest effort. I make sure that I know the regulations, I know the rules, and I know how to operate. I've made sure that everything that we try to do is in the best interest and long term of the city. When we talk about people saying we don't do things for the residents, I challenge it. Do you improve your hospital? Do you do a hospice? Do you build a splash pad? Do you work with a skateboard park? Do you build affordable housing? Do you expand daycare because you're into it for the tourists? No. You do that because you live in this community, and a high quality of life and a community hub and fiscal management are what matters. I work very hard with council to build consensus and to move forward. I know it's difficult, and you never want to leave people behind. We have a skills challenge here in the city. We have lots of jobs. We have to bridge that gap. We have lots of opportunity to be a community that continues to move forward. I ask for the opportunity to lead council and continue to work on that. And I ask that no matter who you vote for, you hold them to account and make sure they use factual information, do so in an effort to improve the quality of life and provide the community that you expect and want for your generation and the next one beyond you. Thank you.
And Tom Drake, you have 2 minutes for your closing comments. Get that mic close.
Yeah, okay. We need to take every advantage we can to make Stratford a more livable city. We need energetic new leadership to work openly and honestly in the best interest of the whole city. And we need to incorporate worthwhile suggestions from the public with practical considerations. With my history of hard work, my background as a scientist and as a health provider, I think I am well equipped to listen to everyone, research problems, and coordinate the diverse efforts of everybody in the city and support unbiased solutions. I'd like to see more Stratford solutions for Stratford problems. So in conclusion though, I've proposed on my platform, and I wish people would look at it, but nobody has mentioned green energy projects with tax rebates to make the long-term city a better place to live. We also have to be globally responsible. So I think Stratford has to do its part, and I'm prepared to do that kind of thing. So that's my conclusion, and I think I'd put a large effort into being the mayor, and I think it would pay dividends to the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you to all of our candidates for being here this evening and answering your questions. We're going to take a short 5-minute break to bring the councilors up. We once again want to thank Vancia Financial and Or Insurance for helping out this evening, and Rogers and Whiteman will be taping this and tape delaying it for us for the next few days. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll be back in just a few moments. Thanks for being patient, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back to the Stratford and District Chamber of Commerce Municipal Election Debate. This portion is going to deal with everyone running for councillors. I want to thank our volunteers first before we move forward. Sarah Hamza, who is the head of our committee, I want to say thank you for organizing all of the candidates, both for the mayoral and our councillor candidates. I also want to thank our runners who are picking up all the questions, and that's Brittany Perrin, Kyle Smith, Sherry McGuire, Darcy Cran, Brandon Boyd, and June Leach. They're working really hard to make sure we're answering a number of your questions. I also want to thank our sponsors, Orr Insurance and Vancia Financial Group, and Jeff Orr and Mike Vancia for acting as moderator assistants for Eddie. This event is being filmed by Rogers and Whiteman TV, and the airing schedules are going to be posted on the Chamber website after the event. So if you want to see it live, that will be fine. Before we start, I want to make sure that everyone understands that we are the Stratford and District Chamber of Commerce. This event and the focus for this event is on business, and we want you to understand that. There have been other debates that have been focused on strictly residential issues, but from our perspective, this is what we're here for, to represent the business in our community. So try and keep that in mind when you're listening to the answers from the councillors. So thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Eddie.
Thanks. And thank you, Peter. It's good to see everybody here tonight. This shows that you are concerned with what's happening in our community. So thank you, and the amount of people that are running, I love that. It just shows people are really committed and really want to get involved. And with that in mind, we're going to break things up in groups because we only have 6 microphones, I believe. So we're going to start with Group A, which is Bonnie Henderson, Brad Beatty, Carla Coles, Cody Seven, and Dan Graver, and Dan Wetlaufer. And we're going to start alphabetically as in first names. And then Bonnie Henderson, would you start things off and give us your bio, please?
Hi, I'm Bonnie Henderson. I'm a proud mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. I'm retired, so this means I now have more time to work on your behalf. I'm here tonight to ask you for the opportunity to continue to represent you on Stratford City Council. Over the years, I've volunteered on various boards, committees, groups in the areas of environment, labor, social justice, women's issues, safety, poverty, and human rights. I feel very strongly that you need someone to represent you who understands that everything eventually links together, and I believe I'm the one to do that. I plan to continue to clarify what is going on at Council so that you, the citizens of Stratford, have a clear understanding of the issues. I'm not afraid to ask questions either, which I feel is another great asset. I have a Facebook page and email where I have found people are very comfortable at asking me questions and getting their answers from me. I've also been honored to work for you, the citizens of Stratford, and I need your vote to continue to raise your issues at Council. Stratford is a wonderful place to live and work and raise a family, but I believe by working together we can continue to make it even better.
Thank you, Bonnie. That's time's up. And what we might ask everybody to do is have a look at Nancy over here. She's got the times for you, and because I hate cutting you off, but we will have to keep it fair for everybody. Next up is Brad Beatty.
Good evening. For those that do not know me yet, I'm Brad Beatty, and on the elections ballot, I'm option number 1. And in the ideal world, I'd hope also be your first choice for Stratford City Council. Fun fact, married to my wife, Sherry, and we are proud parents to 16-year-old boys, Brock and Braden, none of whom can be here tonight as they're busy working on our family business, and I promise them a shout out for working hard to allow me the opportunity to be here tonight. So why should you re-elect Brad Beatty? Good question, with a simple answer. I truly care about Stratford. I do not come saying that I have all the answers, but rather that I will continue to work hard and make decisions that are in the best interest of Stratford. Most relevant experiences include serving as the chair of community services, serving on the finance subcommittee, as well as infrastructure, transportation, and safety. I also sit on the board of Invest Stratford and Festival Hydro. Additionally, I'm the chair of Communities in Bloom and the Civic Beautification and Environmental Awareness Committee.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Next up, Carla Coles.
Hi, I'm Carla Coles. I would just love the opportunity to be on the team that's working together to make my community stronger, approaching the issues with research, collaboration, and a get-it-done attitude. I think listening and asking questions are important steps. Clarity of communication is needed and something I want to work towards. Being available, and open to new ideas. Talking to people are key elements to coming up with viable solutions, especially the conversations with people whose background, experiences, and opinions differ from my own. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Carla. Cody 7. And make sure you got the mics real close so everybody can hear, and that'll get away from the feedback as well, too. Thanks.
What does it take for one person to reach 5,000 homes, 100,000 steps, 150 hours, 2 campaigns, and a belief that Stratford is worth it? My name is Cody 7. After growing up in Stratford, I lived in Kingston for 4 years and graduated from behavioral sciences. In 2010, I moved back home to Stratford with my wife, and we have since started a family. I've worked for the past 6 years as a rehabilitation counselor for individuals who live with a brain injury in Stratford. We need to budget ahead for roads, sidewalks, and infrastructure to keep Stratford running smoothly and avoid increasing our debt. We need to add smaller, more cost-efficient buses to our transit fleet. In short, like any responsible household, we need to spend smarter. I'm making a pledge that if elected, I will host monthly forums with the public to allow people to easily stay up to date, ask questions, and provide feedback in an informal setting. This is what I believe Stratford needs, and I need your support to make it happen.
Thank you, Cody. Dan Graver, you have 1 minute.
I'm Dan Graver, and I'm running for Stratford City Council. I'm a retired Waterloo Regional Police Officer, finishing up as a detective with the Technological Crimes Unit. Before that, I worked with the Ministry of Corrections in town here. I'm a 30-year resident of Stratford, and I have my platform. I have 3 key topics that I'm bringing towards for council, and my number 1 is public consultation, real public consultation. One that's not just going through the motions. I think we've seen that over the years. Streamlining council process. We have subcommittees, committees, and council. That needs to be streamlined. My third point is transit. We need to get out of the 1980s and really streamline and make our transit system work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And Dan Wetlaufer, you have 1 minute.
My name is Dan Wetlaufer. I'm the supervisor at the Stratford Youth Center. It's hard to sum yourself up in 1 minute or an entire platform. My original platform was on better communication. I really feel if you understand both sides of the issues, we can get some of these problems solved faster. But after talking to you and talking to a lot of council and our candidates, there's a lot more going on. You know, some of you have lived here a long time, and I really think the issues are still the same. It's housing, it's labor, it's good transit services, especially for our young and our old. Previous councils have dealt with these problems and they've overcome them. And I've met our council and our candidates. We got a good, strong team, and I think we'll continue to overcome them. I look forward to the debates, but I look forward to actually speaking with you after the debates. That's how we're really going to get things done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. And that's Group A. We're going to do all the bios right now, but we're going to break things down into Group A, B, C, and D. And from Group B right now, giving us a 1 minute bio, is Danielle Ingram. Hello, Danielle.
Hi, Eddie. Hi, everyone. Thanks for spending your evening with us. I am Danielle Ingram. I was born and raised in Stratford, as was my husband, Rob. We have 2 children, a son who is in grade 7 and a daughter who is in grade 4. And my roots run deep in this community. My great-grandparents made Stratford their home, and we have continued on since then. My education is a degree in economics from Wilfrid Laurier University, and I have a diploma in urban and regional planning from Fanshawe College. And I also work for the City of Waterloo. I've worked for the City of Waterloo for 15 years in their planning department. I've been incredibly fortunate that you were kind enough to elect me to City Council last term, and I'd like to be able to continue to bring many of the projects that we have ongoing to fruition. I'd like to see the asset management plan completed. I'd like to continue the work on the Grand Trek Community Hub, and I'd also like to refocus back on our fundamental core infrastructure, such as our roads, our sidewalks, and our bike lanes.
Thanks, Danielle. Dave Gaffney, you have 1 minute.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My roots in Stratford are deep, and I would bring significant professional and volunteer experience to the role of City Councilor. I started my civic service in high school when I served on the Mayor's Committee for Youth. Over the years, I've supported organizations ranging from the YMCA, the Parks Board, the Bard of Avon Housing Co-op, the Stratford Agricultural Society, and the Canada 150 Committee. Through these volunteers' experience, I've learned about the opportunities, the gaps, the incredible people who make Stratford so unique and special. I spent my professional career at Gaffney Construction, a part of this community for more than 100 years. My work in the construction industry has taught me about responsible development, fiscal management, private-public partnerships, and municipal development. Given the opportunity, I would be proud to work with the people of Stratford to make it a better place to live, work, and raise a family.
Thank you, Dave. Don Robinson, you have 1 minute.
My name is Don Robinson. I am running for a seat on City Council. I was born and raised in Stratford, and I'm the youngest kid of 6. My parents are Ron and Marjorie Robinson. I am married with 2 daughters. I have been involved in Stratford, the city, all my life. I umpired for 35 years and refereed hockey. I'm the CEO of Family Living. Through my work, I take people off the street and give them a permanent address. If I get elected for City Council, my goals are I'd work on affordable housing, assistance for seniors and the homeless, create a youth family center and committee, improve the transit, mobility bus, and infrastructure. That it is time that we clean up the city's issues, some that have been working for more than 20 years. I believe everyone should be heard at City Hall, and I will be a voice for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Frank Mark, you have 1 minute for us.
Good evening, everybody. Frank Mark. I'm proud to say that I'm a lifelong member of this citizen, along with my family, Gwen, and 2 kids and 4 grandchildren. Very proud to be in this great city. I've served the city on council for the past 27 years, and I'd be more than happy to serve the city another 4 years in the same capacity. I've participated in the finance, community services committees for the whole time I've been on council. Spruce Lodge, Festival of Hydro Services, Inc., and I'd be more than happy again to continue in those roles. I will continue to use my common sense approach, and I offer you my experience, my honesty, my integrity, and I promise to make informed citizens for the better of the city and as a whole. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Frank. Giza, you've got 1 minute for it. Giza Wardofa.
Thank you. My name is Giza Wardofa. First, I want to say thank you very much for all of you guys. You know, I'm very privileged in front of you for all your support. I'm enjoying these countries. I say Stratford is my hometown. I'm helping, supporting newcomers in the area, finding job, housing, transport. Stratford is one of, we're lucky to be these countries. Stratford, one of the best place to be here. I'm saying my home country, my home city. I'm fighting for transport, housing, and also I'm fighting to get done working clinic. That's my main goal. Most of our tourists or newcomers, they're struggling to get doctor. That's my main goal, to fight to get in town working clinic. Thank you very much.
1 minute is up. And Graham. And we're just checking the mic here to make sure it's working. Should be on. Graham, you've got 1 minute.
Thank you. My wife and I emigrated to Canada in 1973. I joined the police and served 33 years, mostly in Stratford, a city I'm proud to call home. I joined the board of Stratford Youth Soccer in 1976 and have been on the board continuously since then. I have recently had the privilege of coaching Special Olympics athletes. After policing, I worked 7 years part-time, assisting victims of crime to understand and navigate the criminal justice system. I was elected to council in 2014, currently serve on social services, infrastructure and community services subcommittees, along with 4 boards: Stratford Tourism, Parks, Summer Music and Police Services. For 4 years, I captained a fundraising team on the coldest night of the year walk, raising over $15,000 for a shelter link. Saving the best for last, my wife and I have 2 adult children who in turn have blessed us with 7 amazing grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. And we're going to head into the back there, and because I need to be the height of Jeff Orr to be able to see everybody, but Greg Evans, I assume you're back there. We'll start with you.
I'm here. Perfect. We switched the order up back here. My name is Greg Evans, and I'm sorry that Cody's about 7 feet tall, so some of you can't see me, but if you can't see me, I'll meet you later somewhere. Like I said, my name's Greg Evans. My beautiful fiance and I are new to town, and you don't normally hear someone lead with that when they're trying to get elected in a new town. But we're new to town. We moved here a few months ago on the north side of town, and already I lay awake at night and I worry about what happens for our kids when we're growing a family in Stratford, how their schools are going to look. I worry about the brain drain, whether we can attract youth to town both permanently and even just in the tourism industry. How do we attract youth? How do we attract young families to come here? I worry about cuts to seniors services. I worry about cuts to other seniors programs as well. And I worry about jobs and small businesses as well. So those are things, even though I'm new to town, that I worry about, and I want to do everything I can to make better. Stratford has been phenomenal to my family and I. This is a great opportunity for me to meet everyone all in one room all at once. So I wanted to say hello. Thank you so much. 1 minute is up, and we'll head over to Jody Burback.
Thank you. I'm Jody Burback, and I'm a small business owner in town and a mother of 3. My priorities for the city are things that will help to attract and retain young families: creating affordable housing, improving public transportation, moving the Grand Trunk Community Hub project forward, improving walking and cycling infrastructure, introducing a green bin program, and attracting new doctors to Stratford. As a communications specialist, I can offer some specific skills to council to help us achieve these goals. I see myself as a team player who can help council remain focused on these priorities, as well as help clarify and refine our priorities based on what the citizens of Stratford tell us that you want. I will work hard to ensure that citizens' ideas and concerns are heard and seriously considered.
Thank you, Jody. Kathy Vasilakos, you have 1 minute.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Vasilakos. I'm a biochemist and mother of 2, a teenager and a young adult. Our family has been in Stratford for 16 years. On council, I sit on the Finance and Labor Relations and Heritage and Planning subcommittees, and I'm vice chair of the Social Services Committee. I also sit on several community boards. The last 4 years have been very productive for the city, and I would like to see this momentum continue. If re-elected, I would continue to make informed decisions that are in the best interest of our community and grounded in a vision of a more livable city, where social and economic development ensures that all of our citizens thrive. Before making decisions, I need to ask and understand all aspects of what is being proposed. As a result, I ask a lot of questions. Why? Because I feel that accountability comes not just from saying what we decided, but being able to clearly explain the reasoning behind that decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Katia Maxwell, tell us a bit about yourself. You have 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Katia. I've been a journalist for 30 years, the last 20 years in Stratford, working as a TV producer for Rogers Television. That has allowed me the opportunity to have a really strong historic understanding of the issues that face our community. I've met a lot of the stakeholders. I understand a lot of the stories that are going on, and I feel that would make me an effective voice at the council chamber. I'm a single mom of 6. I've raised them in Stratford. It's been a busy life, but I've managed to volunteer in various ways, offering my professional services to organizations in the community. I would like to rebuild public trust, enhance affordable living, and improve community, and I feel that I would be a very different voice around the council table. I'm passionate, committed, and I would stay true to who you see before you today. And I don't think the councillors are doing anything wrong at all. They're doing a great job, but I think maybe it's time for some fresh ideas and new experiences and new faces. Thank you.
Thanks, Katia. Next up, for 1 minute, Ken Wood.
My name's Ken Wood, and a confession right off the start, I'm imperfect. I'm new to Stratford. I've been here maybe 5 years. One of my passions is helping the underdog, and I believe in helping people, and there's a segment in our society and here in Stratford that needs a lot of help. My education is a degree in political science, a couple of years in social work. My experience is working in computers for way too many years when they were huge and filled this room. I've also worked in human resources. I've been in management. What else can I tell you about myself? My platform, maybe you're interested. I believe in affordable housing, and in this city, the biggest problem we've got is we do not have affordable rentals. And I'm critical of this council because in the past 4 years I've followed them very closely, and I think they've made a number of errors. And obviously we're having struggles in this city with affordable living. I also want to see better transit, and I also want to do something about the potholes, which I think everybody would like to see.
There we go. Thank you, Ken. That is our candidates from Group C, and Brittany's doing a marvelous job getting the microphones out to everybody so we can accommodate everybody tonight. This is Group D, and we'll start off in alphabetical order. Marcus Niebler.
Hi, my name is Marcus Niebler. I've been in town 7 years. You will not see my signs out there. I am my own billboard. To me, the more signs you have is the more money you're willing to waste. And if they're willing to waste their own money, they're willing to waste yours. I look around the audience right now, and I don't see a lot of happy, smiling faces. My biggest platform is about change. People should not be career politicians. You get in, you make some good changes, and you get out, and you leave it for the next group of people. If you people want change, raise your hand. If you're happy with the status quo, stand up. My platform is available online, and you can look at that. My bio is also available online. I have numerous college diplomas and degrees. I'm well educated. I'm a small business owner. I drive a school bus. That's all you're going to find about me right now. Go ahead and ask.
Thank you, Marcus. Martin Ritzma, you have 1 minute.
Good evening. I don't put up signs. So I've been blessed to serve the citizens of Stratford over the last 8 years, and in the last term, you're deputy mayor. And in my role, I've had the pleasure of meeting residents in their homes, at the market square, and at the farmers market. I am a good listener. I'm patient. I'm willing to take the time to do the job well, and I pride myself in quiet diplomacy. My goal is to continue to address the daily needs of all our residents, but we must also ensure investments are strategically made in our infrastructure in Stratford, in roads and other essential services, while attending to our city debt. Addressing affordable housing and the development of the community hub are certainly key. Being involved in the training and retraining of our citizens will certainly be important for current and future employers. We have lots of work to do, but I'd love to work with you for 4 more years. Thank you.
Martin. And my apologies because I couldn't see through Graham here. Kevin, I want to get you on as well. Kevin Silver, you have 1 minute. Give us your bio, please. Kevin Silver.
Hi, I'm Kevin Silver, and I'm a candidate for Stratford City Council. Over the past couple of months, I've spoken with many of you and listened to your concerns. Issues with roads and sidewalks, as well as other infrastructure, finding employees to fill job openings and attracting new industry, expanded needs for seniors, young families, and youth, environmental alternatives, and transit, both within Stratford and connecting to other communities, a community hub on the Cooper site, a need for improved active transportation options like cycling. My wife and I chose Stratford 30 years ago, and since arriving, I have served on a variety of different committees. I'm a past president of Rotary and a small business owner. I believe my experience, knowledge, and abilities would allow me to be a valuable addition to City Council. I ask for your support.
Thank you, Kevin. Rebecca Reeve, would you give us a minute profile of yourself?
Yeah. So contrastly to these two gentlemen, I do have signs. So you will see those around town. So I am a wife and I am a mom as well. I haven't lived in Stratford for very long, for the last several years. But since moving here, I've also brought my mom and my grandma here. And I am incredibly committed to the city, and I think that bringing all of my family here also shows that. Before living in Stratford, I went to school and was a child and youth worker for the school board in Waterloo. And I've always worked front line with children and with youth, and that's something that I'm also very interested in doing in this city, working with the citizens front line, getting to know people, and just being able to meet people where they are, at the levels there are, and if they need to be brought up, to bring them up, and if they need to be met where they are, to be able to do that as well. When working for the board, I sat on many different committees, and you quickly realize that cohesion and connectedness are vital parts of that, and that is something that I can also bring to the city. So thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Shannon Dyke, you have 1 minute for us.
My name is Shannon Dyke. I'm a 28-year-old, and I've been a resident of Stratford my entire life. Originally from Newfoundland, my family moved here in search of better employment, and ever since then, this community has been my home. I'm a graduate of Western University, where I completed my degree in medical science, followed by my Bachelor of Education. After university, I always knew that I wanted to return to Stratford to fulfill my life and career, and as fate may have it, I now teach at Stratford Northwestern. Besides work, I find enjoyment in giving back to my school community, playing organized sports, and taking advantage of the city's green space and recreational facilities. I also find value in volunteering and have experiences doing so with Stratford Minor Hockey, the Boys and Girls Club of London, and Seniors Learning IT. Growing up in Stratford and now residing and working here, I bring forth a complete perspective on what our local government can do for this community. From teaching, I know that listening is more valuable than talking, and this mindset would get me back to the public for answers. My criticalness, constant reflection, and willingness to seek input from people is what would make me an effective and respected counselor. It's the year-long resident of Stratford that matters, and my priority is you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Last but not least, Tom Clifford.
Hello, I'm Tom Clifford. As a longtime resident of Stratford, I have owned and operated a successful business for many years. During this past term, I've been Chair of Finance and a member of Social Service Subcommittee. My goals for Council in the next 4 years are the restoration and commencement of the construction of the Hub project, keeping our tax increases as close to inflation as possible, and keeping a watchful eye on our debt. We also need a long-term parking solution for the downtown district. And lastly, we need to pressure the new provincial government for a solution to the escalating cost of police and fire services due to interest arbitration. I offer you experience, financial responsibility, and open communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. We are going to ask some questions, and we've got some debate questions for the councillors. We're going to go to Group A right now, then we'll branch out after that. We're going to start with, is that Bonnie at the end there? I think it is. Hello, Bonnie. We'll work down from Bonnie. We applaud the city for moving ahead on building subsidized, geared to housing at the former fairgrounds. If you are elected as member of council, what will you do to encourage builders to construct homes or apartments in Stratford that are affordable to an individual or a family earning a living wage of $16.47 per hour? We'll start with Bonnie, we'll move down, and then we'll open it up for a 5-minute debate after that. Bonnie.
And how long do I have?
You've got 1 minute.
1 minute for all that?
I know. You can do it, Bonnie.
Okay, I gotta talk faster. I would want to have a format with all the developers and the builders in the area. Get them together and come up with ideas, because we've offered programs in the past where they can have up to $74,000 a unit and nobody applies. We were lucky last year, or the year before, Pool Industry was interested, and we managed to get 13 of his units in an apartment building. And that's committed for 25 years. And we need more developers and builders like that are willing to do that, so that we can get more affordable or rent geared to income, which is RGI. And affordable means for everybody. An average person, you shouldn't be paying more than 30% of your income on rent. That affects a lot of us, whether you're just out there working or you're a senior. And we need to work together to try to get that going. I saw a plan, I got 15 seconds. I saw a plan out in Victoria, and it was great. It was the provincial government, the municipal government, there was 7 nonprofit organizations, there was the building association, there was all these, they worked together, they went and say a 7-Eleven's empty, they went there and they...
You just about made it, Bonnie. I thought you were going to do it. Brad, we'll take your cue on that right now.
Bonnie, I wish I could give you some of my time. I'll tell you, people, I sit here, I'm listening to Bonnie, and I really don't have any more original thoughts to add, and it's something that, and I tell you, I don't always have all the answers, but I look around, and I'm actually fortunate. I've had the opportunity to sit beside Bonnie for 8 years, and she's truly passionate about this subject and knows it very well. And so for me, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the audience, I'm saying the only answer I can give you is that we need to continue work, and Bonnie mentioned this, with the developers to look to see how we can come up with some, and it's perhaps there's not really new answers, but some creative answers on how we can help this, because we know that this is one of the major issues facing our city.
Thank you, Brad. Carla, your response.
Yes and yes. We have to pursue creative options. We did a roundtable discussion, and there were a lot of interesting options that were brought to the table. I want to pursue those. I have a daughter that's returning home next year, so I'm very big on her having her own place and being able to afford it and not living in my house. So I agree completely, and to continue with what we're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, Cody. How would you help out and look at affordable housing?
Yeah, so as of December 2016, there were 227 families on the wait list for social housing. As of December 2017, there were 352. This is an important issue that not only affects the people on the waiting list, which takes an average of 7 months, but also dictates their life while they endure the wait. So there are several actions Stratford can take to address this need. Currently, Stratford's housing development consists mostly of single dwelling homes. We need to encourage more compact structures like fourplexes they developed in Listowel. Publicizing local knowledge about community needs will also help private and non-private sector identify ways to contribute to solutions. So it's time we establish more incentive programs to facilitate the conversion of underutilized non-residential space into more efficient residential space. We need to consider the more than 300 people on the waiting list and understand why, most importantly, we need to take action now.
Thanks, Cody. Dan, what would you do? Dan Graver, please.
The province has announced that municipalities will now be able to do exclusionary zoning. Zoning such as the municipality will be able to dictate what type of housing goes into a development. So a certain percentage could be affordable housing. That will allow council to be able to dictate more inclusive zoning within developments. And we also need to start thinking outside the box. We need to look to our neighbors of the Waterloo region who are developing a program right now for R1 zoning, which allows subsidy for people to redevelop their homes and have below market rates under contract.
Thanks. And Dan Wetlaufer will have the last response before we open it up to debate.
So I'm 40 years old, and 20 years ago in Stratford, things were quite different. At the youth center where I work, when the kids age out, I don't quite know what to tell them now because there's not as many options. So I really think, and we're going to hear more about inclusionary zoning, I think that's a great long-term plan. I think we have to play ball with some of our developers. I don't want to see Stratford turn into a metropolis, but I think we have to expand in order to get these options. I know it's a careful formula. These guys want to make a profit. These developers want to make a profit. They're not going to build it otherwise. So we have to find that bait to bring them in and build these as quickly as possible. Inclusionary zoning is something I think we should all look into, look it up. It's in 20, 30 years, hopefully they'll look back and be glad that we put that in. That's what we need. We need options.
Okay. In 5 minutes, and I'm not sure we can cure it all, but we'll open up for debate. Is there somebody that has a solution that could possibly help out with low income and some sort of housing for low income? Yeah, Bonnie. In fact, we'll open it up and you guys can talk amongst yourself about this.
As I was starting to tell you about when Victoria, what they were doing, they took an area that was contaminated, and all those people I mentioned before got together, and then they started working on that. And so some of these units are only 450 square feet, but as long as they have a bed to sleep in and a place to go to the washroom, they're quite happy. And they make sure they're on bus routes and everything. And you know, I bring it up all the time because I'm very passionate about it. I actually went and saw that, and I just really would like to see that start in our area. And I know Stratford's small and that's hard to do it, but you know, we could get a group together that's passionate about this too, because I know there's developers and builders out there that would want to do this and help out, and we can get the government working on it. And I don't know how many people in this room would be interested in working on a committee like that, and then we could start working towards that. And you know, like one of the things they did out there was, say a motel was shutting down, they made all those units already got beds, TVs, and fridges, and then they just took the center section and they made that the lunchroom or the cafeteria. So they still had places for their family to come in that. They had the dignity of being able to go into their bedroom at night. They took the Olympic stadiums and the ones that the people stayed in, and one section of it became the living room, kitchen. The other section became a bed and bathroom. And all the people that were homeless wanted was just a wall where their bed was so they could go to bed at night and have privacy. And I think we can do things like that here.
Okay.
And I know we're passionate about it.
And you are, Bonnie, thank you. And Dan,
Eddie?
you want to jump in on this?
Eddie, we need to start breaking down barriers in our zoning and our building and planning. We need to encourage our developers to greater infill. Right now we have, our housing inventory is low. It's very low. People are coming in, moving into our city, choosing it to retire here. We need to stop putting up barriers to developers who want to intensify our land, who want to bring in more dwelling units per square foot. We need a higher inventory of housing. The prices are high. People can't afford to live here. And we need to adjust that. We heard earlier in the mayor's debates in regards to how to get jobs here. It all stems from many things, and housing is one of them. We need to start, as I said before, start looking out of the box solutions to get more people into the square footage that we have now and bring prices down.
Any other ideas before we move on to the next question? Cody?
Just a small note. I think creativity is very good. I think another factor we could look at is potentially support alternative building standards that reduce the cost of housing, so long as they meet the Ontario Building Code, obviously. But I think those, and as I mentioned, just underutilized non-residential space, just to really provide incentives that way.
Thank you. All out? All done? Okay, then we'll go on to the next question, and that will be for Group B. Brittany, if you want to take the mics around to Danielle, to Dave, Don, Frank, Giza, and Graham. As of April 1st, 2019, storefront retail sales of cannabis will be permitted in the province. Ontario is allowing municipalities a one-time opportunity to opt out of the retail sale of cannabis within their boundaries. The decision will be made by January 22nd. What is your position on whether Stratford should opt in or opt out of storefront retail sale of cannabis? And if your position is opt in, what measures, if any, would you put in place to regulate these storefront operations? And we'll start with Danielle.
Somehow I knew this question was going to come to me tonight. The way I look at this is that this is not a personal decision that council should be making. It should be a community-based decision. And so I would like community input on whether or not the city should opt in or opt out. Marijuana is coming. It's going to be in our community because the way the province has structured it is the same as the Smoke Free Ontario Act. So you can be walking down the street, just as you were smoking a cigarette, you can be smoking marijuana as well. So it's going to be in the community, but I would like the community's input as to whether or not we actually want storefronts selling this, because you're going to see that in the core, you could see it in the mall. Is that something that the community is going to want? I don't think it should be up to just the 11 people being elected to make that decision for you.
Okay. Dave Gaffney.
Thanks, Danielle, for being sure this would be our question. As Danielle said, it's coming. It's going to be a legally consumable product in Ontario come next week sometime or the week after. If the city of Stratford was to decide to opt-in to have storefronts in Stratford, I would expect they'd have to operate to the same standards as the liquor and beer stores. As far as where people smoke it, unless there's a medical exemption, I would suggest it'd be the same rules as cigarettes. You know, it's cigarettes and vaporizers, so that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, and we'll move on. Don Robinson.
Well, that is a tough question. The only thing that I have concerns about is smoking it in apartments, go through the walls. I'm looking out for the kids, you know, that live next door to somebody that does smoke it. They don't need to be smelling that. It's very, like, I get a real bad headache from it, so I don't like it myself. I'd rather not even come here, but you know, the government's going to allow it. But I do think that we should keep it out of apartments, out of dwellings that are duplexes and stuff like that, so nobody else has to smell it.
Okay, thanks, Don. Frank Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Eddie. Obviously, Don's tried it, but I'm actually pretty neutral on the topic. I could take it or leave it, but I guess I agree very much with what Danielle has said, that it should be a community decision. And my biggest concerns are the policing and the protection, and I think that's been the biggest concern that I've heard from people all across the province about how much is this going to cost us to police and so on and so forth. And I think we need some serious consultation with our police services and our health unit on what their input is, and I think that would help the community make a decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. Giza, your position on this?
Yeah, this is, of course, is community decision. It's for me a little bit tough question, and I think so. We have to try to teach them to understand, or maybe to give them some advice, or through school, university, or church group. This is our community. We don't want to lose our children outside. You know, I remember when I was in Holland, I used to work with United Nations, and when the government allowed to smoke young and so many, kids, outside. We don't want that on our community. This is our problem. We have to fix this our problem. This is a community problem. It's not government. Government say, this is our problem. We have to work together as a community, as a church group, as a school. That's, this is all, not only candidate or my problem. I know my problem. Mm-hmm. We have to fix together.
Thanks, Giza. And Graham, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, this is another example of the feds. They have the great idea. They push it onto the province, who then download it onto municipal governments to try to figure it all out. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if dollars and cents come with that. There's a lot of decisions to be made here. Being an ex-cop, I have to admit, I will have some difficulty with it. However, it's coming and we have to accept it. I look around the room here, there's quite a few people with gray hair. So therefore, I would anticipate that a lot of you will also find it rather strange. But it is change, and there's always that resistance to change. The statistics do indicate, from what I've heard, that the cannabis doesn't necessarily lead to other charges and other drug use. So legalizing it is not necessarily a bad thing. I've always believed that, somebody gets a criminal conviction for possession of a couple of marijuana cigarettes. I've never agreed with that during my entire police career. Thank you.
Here. We'll open it up for debate for a few minutes here. I know that it's kind of a landmine to be walking on, but if any of you win and have to represent the public, and one of us comes up to you and says, look, I'd like to put this in the downtown or in the mall, what are you going to tell me? We'll open that up for debate. Frank.
Well, first off, I have to apologize to Don. He's been exposed to the smoke in a second-hand nature, and he swears to me he's never tried it. So anyway, as I said previously, I really think it's a very important decision. I think there's very much support out there, especially in the younger age group. But I really do think it's going to take some serious consultation with some experts, and by that I mean the Public Health Unit and the Police Services Board, as I mentioned previously, and some open very open discussion and open-mindedness, you know, I can't say that. Everybody's got to keep an open mind about it and make a good, well-informed decision.
Yeah. Don.
Well, what bothers me as well, and no, I have never smoked it because it bothers me. People smoking and driving, is it the same as drinking and driving? You know, it has to affect you somehow. So I don't believe that people should be able to smoke and drive or drink and drive.
Okay, Graham, I know you wanted to say something.
Thank you. I agree with Danielle about the community-based input for sure. As a result of that, we might be able to get some rules and regulations as to where these, if we do allow them in the first place, where these facilities will be. We've also got to concern ourselves with the security of these premises, because if somebody knows that there's stuff in there, they might be tempted to break in and steal it. So I'm also concerned about the enforcement issue. I think it'll be like a hot potato. The police, with regards to the regulations and somebody selling it to people underage, is that a health unit issue? The Tobacco Enforcement Act is a health unit issue. The police can have the authority to do it, but it's the health issue.
Okay, well, Graham, then let's hear from someone not only on council, but a mom as well, too. Danielle?
Yes, but I won't speak to that aspect. The other partners that I think should be included in the consultation would be the city center business improvement area and any of our business community, perhaps the Chamber of Commerce or a representative from the Chamber of Commerce, and then the Huron Perth Healthcare Alliance, in addition to the health unit, because I think they have some expertise and some thoughts on whether or not we want to see these storefronts in our community.
Okay, all in on that one? Everybody in? Giza, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. For me, and I mean for most of, maybe not new, our main goal to educate them, to teach them, to give them some good advice. It's not like, it's not hidden, because this officially government is announcement. What I said before, this is our issue, especially we are Stratfordian. Everybody, each other, everybody, they know each other's, right? And then maybe we can work with police and maybe to proper ways when they are smoking. Maybe, I don't know, it just is for me difficult to tell them no, but maybe it's committee based. You know, I'm supporting, and then government support. You know, everybody. I mean, the people who are smoking, they are very young. It's not kids, right? Maybe they are from university or from college, right? They know, they understand. They know it's very bad, but they're smoking. But we can't teach them good ways, not to take police department or to detention. That's not work. And my main goal, my advice for all of our committee, as a committee, we can work together with them. That's my advice.
Okay. Thanks, Giza. That'll wrap it up for that. Never seen so many people sweat before in my life over one question. We'll go to Group C for the next question. Will it be easier? Well, the question that we'll pose to our candidates in Group C: what will you do to improve transportation in our city, especially when it comes to, you know, the business community and keeping the business alive and very viable as well? We'll start with Greg Evans on this one. What will you do, Greg, to improve transportation in our city? Greg Evans.
Sure, thank you so much. And we did hear a lot from our mayoral candidates about this exact issue. I think having express buses running north, south, east, west is a good idea. Obviously, we would have to look at the feasibility of usage and make sure that it makes financial sense. We don't want to take tax dollars and throw them away at buses that people aren't going to use, right? So we want to make sure that transportation works. I've heard from a lot of people who need often to get to KW and to London and back that there aren't very many easy ways to do that and affordable ways to do that. So again, if it's affordable and if it's feasible to do that, looking at transportation options that go to KW, to London and back from those cities, I think is a good idea as well.
Thanks, Greg. Jody Berta. Jody, what do you think about this?
Thank you. I'll begin with city transit. I would love to see an advisory committee struck with people who actually ride transit. I think a lot of the decisions are made by those of us who don't need to ride transit, and I think it's very important for us to reach out to the people who use it and find out what it is that they need and how we can improve it for them. As far as intercity transit goes, I do understand that we are getting a grant, $5 million, I think, to improve intercity transit. So that would be getting to smaller communities getting to Stratford, and then Stratford getting onto Kitchener, Waterloo, and London. So I would definitely like to see an improvement in those services and a focus on getting to some of the bigger centers. The other thing I think we should do is look at talking to VIA and Go Transit to try to extend or enlarge their service to Stratford. I think that the city could reach out and approach those organizations.
Thanks, Jody. We'll move on to Kathy Vasilakos. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. First thing I think that we need to do is improve Stratford Transit, the intercity transit, and I'd like to expand services to increase the hours so that people who happen to be working later are able to get home from work and do not have to necessarily take a cab. I want to see Sunday service improved. It's a 1-hour service now. I'd like it to match the rest of the week and expand that service as well. The week is no longer Sunday's a day of rest. Lots of people work and they need to get to work and back. And other small improvements to the system would be like getting an app so people know when the bus is coming, when the bus is late, when it's going to arrive. We have got 2 grants for a county transportation system and a regional transportation to KW and London. We have a 5-year opportunity to get an efficient, reliable, well-connected, and affordable system that will be sustainable. I think we really do need to focus to get that right, and I think it needs to link in with Stratford Transit, and the 2 extra slots at the new transit hub are a perfect opportunity to create a connected system.
Thanks, Kathy. Katia Maxwell.
We're about 8 years behind in terms of city transit. We need to move forward quickly and efficiently. We need to talk to our stakeholders. Those are the people that take the buses. The 12-foot buses that we have now are out of date. It's a mode that we need to revisit, perhaps looking at smaller buses, some kind of taxi usage. We need efficient, responsive bus schedules. Some communities have gone with an app, and that's something perhaps we should be looking at. We have a parking app before we have a transit app. That's a bit backwards, I would think. We need an east-west express, for sure. Manufacturers can't get people to work in their plants because Stratford is expensive, so if we have inter-county busing, perhaps that's a way to fulfill that need. And I think that's about it.
Okay, thanks, Katia. Ken Wood, you have 1 minute.
Transit's one of my favorite topics because I take it, and I've been putting out my signs. It takes me an hour to put up one sign. I think I've got a real concern about the intercity transit because right now the way it's operating is the CAOs from various regions around here are talking amongst themselves, and my understanding is planning the schedules and such. I think we have to be really careful and make sure that it works because my experience in this city is that transit is the last priority. The people that are on the Community Services Committee, by and large, are people who drive cars. And when you'll see those buses go by and there's 2 or 3 people on it, and if you're on it, nobody advertises on it, ridership is low. I agree, we need express buses, we have to rethink things, and I'm 100% behind having a transit advisory committee. I think we need to get people realizing that transit is a service that is owed to the citizens. It's not some sort of profit-making situation for a corporation. So I want to get people involved in it, and I want to revitalize transit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Kevin Silver.
Right now, the city of Stratford subsidizes every dollar of transit by 57 cents. So every time somebody puts $1 in or spends $1, 57 cents comes out of the city budget. We need to do a major analysis to determine A, whether that is good money that's being spent, and B, to determine what kind of mix of transit we need going forward. There's many examples when you look around the province or other provinces as well. in terms of innovative ideas of transit, mixing buses with taxi or Uber type of call systems. And I think that's the kind of thing that we have to look at, is what are the needs of the city for all different segments of the community, and then move forward.
Thanks, Kevin. We'll open it up for debate right now. If anybody wants to jump in and just talk more about how we can improve transit. I know Kathy had her hand up. Kathy?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to talk about there are lots of, it's 57 cents for every dollar, but we actually know that from an environmental perspective, from a road wear perspective, from an attraction perspective, public transportation is an essential service, and it actually pays dividends to the community, both economically and to the city economically. The one part that I want to talk about is the future of the city. Young people are no longer choosing to drive. That is a trend. Car ownership will decline. Not only that, we also have an aging population that may actually not want to actually have the car. And so I think a forward-thinking transit system is really, really important. There is some value in larger transit systems to those last-mile Uber-style systems, but they are actually very expensive. Innisfil did actually institute it, but it's costing about $5 per ride to the taxpayer, and that doesn't include the gas tax that goes into it and the cost to the user. The cost to the user in Innisfil is very high because they do not have a transit pass. For our low-income families that actually use public transit and buy a bus pass, an Uber-style system could end up costing them 2 or 3 times more, and I think that actually would be a bit of a problem. I really like that we have a system now that's connected. We have parallel transit, which is a door-to-door service, and if you buy a bus pass for parallel transit, you can also use our buses, which are also accessible.
Okay.
I want to build on that accessible transit system that's
Kathy,
available to
thanks
everyone.
for that. I know Kevin Silver, and then we'll get to Ken Wood as well. Kevin?
The other thing I think we need to look at when we're talking about transit is the whole transportation system. It's not just buses and motorized transit. It's tied into the cycling programs, the bike lanes, etc., motorized scooters, etc., going forward. So it's all those different aspects of transportation that need to be looked at along with the buses and the transit system.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Ken?
Well, Kevin stole my thunder because that was going to be one of my first points. So I'll go to my second point, which is that when you're talking about a transit system, nobody is going to ride transit if it's not on time. If you can't rely on transit to get you from point A to point B and you're working, and you're talking economies as well, this is a Chamber of Commerce meeting, so if businesses want employees that are going to be able to work at the mall at the far end, you better run the buses so that they can get home, that they don't have to take a taxi or cycle or walk across town. The schedules don't make any sense here, and I think that's the first thing that needs to be done, is make transit very reliable. I want that Transit Advisory Committee to come up with a whole bunch of ideas. I have tons of my own, things like having shelters in the right place, having LED displays that tell you where the buses are. They have GPS now, so why can't we make sure that everybody, even if you don't have a smartphone, knows when that bus is coming? And I think that's where we start.
Okay.
And these are quick fixes, and that was said in the mayor's debate as well. These kinds of things could be done tomorrow.
Right.
If you did it.
Ken, I want to get on, but we've still got a few minutes left, and Katia, you wanted to interject.
To me, transit and transportation are essential pieces to that affordable living segment that we need to look at as a community. If you make the buses more efficient, they're running on time, that means that a single mom can hop on the bus, get to work on time. If you extend the hours, that means that someone who has been interviewed for a position at one of our manufacturers can get to work and get home from work. If a mom can get on the bus and go do the groceries and get back home with her 2 children, one of them in a stroller, it all works together, and we need to have a holistic look at how all of that works together. Multi-use paths come into play. Bicycles are not just for fun. They can be a way to get to work and get to where you need to go, and we need to become a little bit more efficient at how we look at moving our people in and around our community.
Okay. Katia, thanks. Greg, I know we'll give you the last word. We just got less than a minute left.
Wonderful. Well, putting the affordability aside when we talk about transit, I think accessibility is a huge thing as well. I count myself still as a young person, even though I shouldn't. I just turned 30. But even my friends who are younger than me say like, oh, like waiting for the bus isn't an affordable issue. It's a who knows if it'll actually be on time? Who knows if it'll show up? It's going to take so much longer. I'd rather rent a car or even call an Uber. So having, even as a city, committing to being less resistant to services like that, and I understand that I just lost the vote of everyone that works for a taxi company or owns one, is a good idea for attracting young people and having youth in the city as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Greg. That's the time we have for this. We've got our last group that's going to answer this question, and then we'll get to closing comments from everybody. Our last group here, this one talks about property taxes. Property taxes continue to creep up. What actions, if any, will you take to address this? And we'll start with Marcus.
Property taxes are incredible in this city. I came from York Region. I thought they were high there. Moved out here, I thought, oh, house is a lot cheaper. Taxes a lot higher. Roads a lot crappier. My snow shoveling, what is that? It snows, and then I get to the major artery and I think, who's in charge of this artery? It's not plowed. So we've got to look at an absolute tax freeze for the next 2 years. People don't need to be paying more in taxes. We need to spend our money better. We run one of the highest deficits for a city this size in the country. We are $53 million in debt. We spend $1 million in interest on our loans. That's your tax money that's being wasted. We just gave the soccer club a loan, low interest. We don't have that money to give. So we've got to wake up and have a better budget system. Spend money wisely, not throwing it away. It's your money and mine.
Thank you, Marcus. Martin Ritzma.
So I will speak to that. I'm going to say up front, I'm proud of what we've done in the city of Stratford in the last 2 terms with regards to our tax levy. It is a balancing act. If you want to add services or if you want to increase the amount of service to an existing service, if you want to add that, you are going to cost dollars. So every $500,000 that you spend, $500,000 to $600,000 that you spend in the city, you're adding 1% to our tax levy. And we are conscious of that. And over the last 2 terms, we have been between 2 and 2.5%. And there's lots of work to do out there, but with that comes the balance of, if you want City Council to spend more on roads, then you must be able to accept the fact that we need to increase your tax levy. And so it is a fine line. It's like running your own household. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Martin. Rebecca Reeve.
Similarly to what Martin said, I definitely agree with the fact, like, all of us that are here obviously care so much about the city that we live in. We love the city that we live in. We contribute to the city that we live in via taxes, and we look at our tax base. Perhaps all of our roads are not the best. Perhaps some of our social services do not look the best. However, we are all working as a collective for our city to be the best. And I do see in some ways that I think some people think there might be a lack of transparency with that. You know, we have high taxes. Why am I still paying for a ticket for garbage? Things like that. And so I think that there should just be clarity with things like that, and that there need to be questions answered for people so that people have confidence in paying their taxes. And like Martin said, for there to be a good tax base for things in our city to get taken care of, then we need to be willing to pay that and contribute to our city. And at the end of the day, paying tax is contributing to our city financially. So.
Thanks, Rebecca. Shannon Dyke, you have 1 minute.
I think it's no surprise that municipalities depend on property tax to fund all sorts of projects that are tangible. With that being said, I don't want to see taxes go above inflation. I think that the year-long tax-paying resident of Stratford needs to see their dollar going a lot further. It comes down to, like Martin alluded to, needs versus wants. And when talking to residents of Stratford, their needs are infrastructure that's tangible. That goes back to ensuring a quality of life. I think that it's no surprise that tax dollars are going to go up inevitably, especially with the looming infrastructure issues based in the asset management plan. But I think that you need to go back to the community and see where their needs are and where they want to see their tax dollars going.
Thanks, Shannon. And last but not least, Tom Clifford, you have 1 minute.
Well, I'm glad I have a question on taxes and not marijuana, because as Chair of Finance, I'm really concerned about taxes, and I also believe we have to keep taxes at or close to inflation level. The only problem with a tax freeze, our employees expect a tax increase, and if they get 1.5% to 2%, if we have a tax freeze, we'd have to cut a road construction, our services. So I just believe we have to watch our tax increases. We have to keep as close to inflation as possible, but it is a game. I'm telling you, we all have wants and needs, and it's something it's a hard job, believe me. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. We'll open it up for debate right now. You know, there's been some great ideas up here. Was that Marcus? Marcus? Yep.
So you just talked about not liking a tax freeze because we got to make sure there's more money to pay our civil services. Civil servants is what I just caught there. So we have 70 people on the sunshine list that make over $100,000. You got to tell me you got to make sure we can give them more money when a group over here just finished talking about a livable wage. That almost sounds counterproductive and oxymoronic. So can you help clarify why we need more money? We bring in $53 million worth of taxes. What are we doing with it? Okay. And we know where the budget is. Look at the budget. We spend $200,000 negatively on a loss at the airport. And everybody says we have to have that open because the executives from the big factories need a place to land their planes. It's still costing us $200,000 a year.
Well, let's get a response from Tom then.
Well, I think an airport is extremely important. For a modern city like Stratford, not to have an airport, it would be really bad. So anyways, if we want to attract directors, if we want to attract anyone for the city, we have to be competitive. And we've had trouble with that, quite frankly. Every time we're hiring a director, if our wages aren't up to what other people are paying, we aren't going to have competent people. And like the other thing I'd like to say, part of our problem, and I love the police and I love the firemen, they do a great job. We have a former police officer in front of me here, but because of interest arbitration, the cost of police and fire and ambulance, for that matter, they keep going up and up, and it affects what we can pay for other things. So I think that what we have to do, we have to, like through AMO and OSAM, we have to encourage the province to stop the interest arbitration which we have in our province right now. If it keeps going like this, it's going to hurt all of us.
Okay. Anybody want to respond to that too? Martin?
I certainly will. I'll take it on. First of all, you're right. A large part of our city debt or our city costs are costs that we are not in control of. And so I believe that the amount that we are in control of, we do an excellent job of that. But we have to also understand in the city of Stratford, we have a good standard of living. Do we have gaps? Absolutely. But we look at ourselves as a medium-sized city, and we offer a lot of amenities that are part of a big city. So if we are going to have those amenities, then we certainly have to pay the taxes. If we want to increase those, certainly you have to be willing to say, yes, I would like to have higher taxes. And that is, as I said earlier, a real tough balance. And if I add into the fact that we're not sure what the next provincial government is going to either give us or not give us, makes it even more difficult, because with the downloading from the provincial government, that puts it back on the municipality.
Marcus?
That's like promising the kids a trip to Disneyland when you haven't paid the rent. We need to get our budgets under control. Just go on the Stratford site, folks, and look at where we're spending our money and how we're bleeding money. And when you look at that, that should be your first area of concern. Just follow the dollar. That's all you need to do. Other cities have the same issues, but they don't run as deep in the hole. Why are we so poorly managed? We need to look at that. And if it means cutting back for a bit, we have to do that. It's not going to get better if we say, oh, we have to this and we have to that. We got to figure out what our wants are and what our needs are and what we have to swallow. So really look at those numbers, please.
Thank you, Marcus. Rebecca, I know you wanted to interject before we get to Martin.
Yeah, I was just going to say, sunshine list or not, I just feel so fortunate that I live in a community where there are people that care enough about our community to work for them at that level, to risk their lives every day. Stratford might not be, I lived in Windsor, it might not be Detroit, it might not be as dangerous, but I just feel very thankful that I live in a community where people are committed enough to keep us safe.
Okay.
So.
Martin, you wanted to say something.
Just want to talk about fiscal responsibility because I get the idea that we're not fiscally responsible. When I joined council 8 years ago, I believe our debt was sitting around $92 million. Currently, it's at 68. If you compare that to like-sized cities in our province, we are at a very manageable spot with regards to our city debt.
Okay. That'll wrap it up for that. Good points. Good points. Now we are going to go in, actually, Brittany, if you don't mind, we're going to go in reverse. So we're going to start with poor Brittany. She's been running around here. We're going to give you a nice round of applause after this. But Tom, would you give us your closing statements? And we'll go in reverse order and end up with Bonnie. But you have got 1 minute for your closing comments.
Thanks, Ed. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to speak to you about my qualifications and concerns. I congratulate my fellow candidates on becoming involved in the political process and wish them well. One of the main reasons I'd like to remain a councillor is the enjoyment I experience from providing information and helping to bring about solutions to city-related problems. I am proud to have been part of this present council under the leadership of Mayor Matheson. I believe we have made many positive decisions for you, the taxpayer. I respectfully ask for your support at the polls by voting for Tom Clifford so I can continue to work for you one last time.
Thanks, Tom. Shannon.
I close tonight reminding the residents of Stratford that it's you that matters. When it boils down to it, government is a tug of war between needs and wants. I strongly believe that the needs of residents has to be addressed first and foremost. With higher political uncertainties, Stratford needs a steady hand who takes a sensible approach to address such needs. When you're at the polls in a couple weeks, ask yourself if you think change is needed. Ask yourself, do you think the needs of the year-long tax-paying resident is at the heart of every decision? Do you think the needs of residents outweighs the wants of outside interest? Do you think that our infrastructure is keeping up with our needs? Do you think that the employment is meeting the needs of our workforce, or our workforce meeting the needs of our employers? Do you think that Stratford is meeting the needs of our youth, our seniors, the vulnerable? If you find yourself answering no, then the choice is obvious. The choice is change. Change is indicative of a healthy democracy. This change needs to benefit the people here who are at the heart of the city, who work regular jobs, whose kids play here and want to stay here. It's our city and it's time to take it back. Let me bring you back to City Hall. Thank you.
Shannon. Thank you. Rebecca Reeve.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the Chamber for hosting tonight. I wanted to thank everybody for coming and for supporting everybody, for caring enough about the community, enough about the people that are running to be here and to hear what we all have to say. I was really intimidated at first, intimidated and excited to run for council. So far, it's been an incredible experience. I mean, there have definitely been some ups and downs of everything so far. And when you go to the polls in the next few weeks, I just hope that you keep everything in mind that you have heard tonight and just the passion that's behind everyone that's here.
Thanks, Rebecca. Martin Ritzma.
Thank you, and thank you to the audience for attending tonight. It certainly shows your interest in the political process and in this wonderful city we call Stratford. Thank you to all the candidates. In closing, I want to state the obvious. I love to serve the citizens of Stratford and the community. I approach City Council as I approach all my activities in the community and during my 36 years in secondary education as a teacher and an administrator. A willingness to work hard, to work with all people, and to serve the needs of all residents. Because of your individual investments in our community, Stratford is a great place to live, to work, to raise a family, and to retire. I wish to continue to be part of the life in this community. I wish to work with you over the next 4 years. And if you support me, I certainly can serve you and represent you at City Council. Thank you.
Thanks, Martin. Marcus Niebler, you have 1 minute, sir.
I'm not just a candidate. I'm also a voter. And I've spent a lot of time sitting at circle meetings and listening to all these folks. This is my dream team. You ready for it? Jody Burback, dedication. She should be elected. Danielle is the experience we need. Bring her back. Bonnie Henderson represents kindness. She needs to get back on council. We need kindness there. Greg Evans, very modest guy, but brilliant. Giza, you're passionate. I love it. Shannon, you represent the millennials more than anybody here. Go for it. Katia, you are absolutely brilliant. Love you. Don, you're the most caring guy I have met in this whole process. Love it. Sorry, there is no sign for Martin Ritzma, nor is there a sign for me, but there is one for Andrew Fraser. Get a new mayor, folks. Get a new mayor.
Thank you, Marcus. We'll move on. Kevin Silver, you have 1 minute.
Have to follow that. If I was sitting out there tonight or watching on television, I'd be asking myself, why should I vote for this candidate and what would they bring to council? By voting for Kevin Silver, you will be voting for proven leadership ability, someone with broad knowledge of the community and an understanding of the issues, someone who listens and is respectful of others' opinions, a consensus builder, someone who takes a sensible approach and is approachable, someone who will spend taxes wisely, someone with integrity without voting conflicts, and someone with a passion for Stratford's future. I ask you to vote Kevin Silver in the election. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Ken Wood, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. And thank you all for being engaged voters and being informed. Vote your conscience, no matter which way anybody else tells you. Pick your own candidates. What I offer basically is somebody who's sometimes a little bit rude, sometimes overly honest and fairly blunt, and puts a critical eye on things. I want to cover 2 things that came up earlier about the cannabis. I saw an article from October 2nd from Ottawa that basically convinces me that we've been told as a community, you either opt in or you opt out, but you have no say in where it's going to be placed. And with regards to taxes, I can't believe I'm saying this. I usually lean left, but I think what has to happen is inflation's gotten so bad, let's stop assuming everything's going to be inflation. Let's do the budget thing where we look at it and we say 0% increase. What is that going to mean we're going to cut? And then do a real serious look at what we need, not what we want or what we wish for. Thank you.
Thank you. Katia Maxwell, you have 1 minute.
Right. We live in troubling times, so there's a lot of anger, intolerance, rumors, and innuendo, real or perceived, and I'd like to be part of the team that changes that dynamic. I believe we can through rebuilding public trust, enhancing affordable living, and improving community. For 20 years, I've covered council. I decided to step out of that little back room and add my voice to support some of our more vulnerable citizens. I want to ensure that our seniors are brought back into the core. Citizens should be heard. We need efficient transit. And we need to support our youth. Multi-use paths are important, and we should aim for zero waste. We need fresh faces, fresh voices, and fresh ideas. There's nothing wrong with the house as it is. We just need to do a little bit of renovation. And I'd like to be part of that renovating process. I'm asking for your vote on October 22nd because I believe I can bring uncommon sense to City Hall. Check out my website, electkatiamaxwell.com, if you'd like to know more. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Katia. Kathy Vasilakos, you have a minute.
Thank you. My vision for making Stratford a more livable city addresses many areas. Economic development that's focused on diversification, efficient and effective public transportation, improved active transportation, environmental stewardship, accessibility, fiscal responsibility, functional and beautiful community spaces, and housing across the affordability spectrum. We need to make plans with reasonable timelines and then move forward to implementation. I encourage every citizen to contact me to find out my position on all these issues and to share with me your ideas and your opinions. Please consider voting Vasilakos. I jokingly say you don't have to be able to say it, you just have to find it on the ballot, and it's usually near the bottom. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate this evening, and thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, Kathy. Jody Burback.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Oh. Okay. Try it again.
Okay. I would like to highlight Danielle's comment about the importance of community-based decision-making when she was talking about the cannabis sales coming to Stratford. I believe that that's an approach that we should take as a council with every single important decision that we make. Community-based decision-making is critical. We need to know what citizens want, and we want to know what citizens' views are on important issues, and we need better ways for citizens to communicate with council, to give their input, and as well as better communication coming from council to its citizens. We all need to work together when we're facing important issues. I think I can help with this by serving on council because I do have a communications background, and I would love to be a part of the team moving forward. And I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Jody. And Greg Evans, you have 1 minute for closing comments.
Perfect. Thanks, Ed. And thanks so much again to the Chamber and for all of you for coming tonight. I know it's past some of our bedtimes by the time we get home. We had a really fun night tonight. So a lot of us laughed, a lot of us got angry, one of us cried. So it wouldn't really be a Stratford election unless it was a little bit dramatic. So I'm glad that we lived up to our reputation. I get married in 44 days, and instead of worrying about that, I'm worrying a lot about why my property taxes are so high, why our infrastructure is so bad, why for what we pay in property taxes compared to other municipalities the same size, we're not getting what they seem to be getting. And I worry a lot about that, and I really don't want to worry about it. But what I would like to do is help, and what I would like to do is to help solve those issues over the next 4 years. So thank you so much to everyone I've had the privilege of meeting, and I really, really hope to meet you after this. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Greg. Graham Bunting.
Yes, I'm honored to have been elected in 2014. When I was elected, I thought I knew a lot about Stratford. I was wrong. The first year and a half was a huge learning curve, and although the curve has flattened out somewhat, I still continue to learn more about our city. I'm proud of what Council has achieved over the past 4 years. Some may disagree with some of Council's decisions, but I can assure you that each decision was made with the greater good of our community in mind. Although the needs are many, quite often the resources are often lacking. I can only promise that I will work hard to do my best with what we have. There are a number of exciting prospects on the cusp of becoming a reality in our community. And my sincere wish is to continue to play a part in making that happen. Accordingly, I respectfully ask for your consideration on October 22nd. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham. Giza Wardorfa, you have 1 minute.
Thank you, community. Thank you, Chamber of Commerce. First, I want to say thank you on behalf of newcomers to say thank you for all your support. This is wonderful communities. Please vote. Vote. You have a good voice. Most of people in Africa or world, they are voting for 3 hours to walk to vote. Your voice is very important. Vote for Giza. I'm unique. I'm helping newcomers in our around area, helping, supporting, finding house. Almost 7 years here. I'm one of Governor General Award because of my work, because of your nomination. Suor here with me. She went in Africa to help, from this committee to help Ethiopian water project. You are wonderful communities. I'm helping newcomers, translating, helping, food sharing because of your support. I am different. I want to make change. Really, you have to make somebody.
And Giza, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Giza. Frank Mark, you have 1 minute.
Hello again.
Yep, that's on.
Is it on? Okay. As I said before, I hope if I get reelected, I will continue with my common sense approach. I've used this phrase in past elections. I will always think of what do we want, what do we need, and what can we afford. And I'll continue with that thought. I'd like to thank the Chamber, Rogers, Whiteman, Eddie and the other conveners and all the volunteers for all their work tonight. The audience and everybody out there. Special thanks to my family for their support. And all you who have supported me in the past, I respectfully ask that you continue to support me so that I can serve the community for the further 4 years. Thanks very much, and God bless.
Thanks, Frank. Don Robinson, you have 1 minute.
In closing, please consider me for a seat on Stratford City Council. Stratford needs a change. The current council has been working on the Cooper site for over 20 years. I believe it's time to think about the citizens and let them be heard at City Hall. With the aging population, we don't have enough nursing home beds or places where they get the care they require. A youth or a family center would get the kids off the street, and I would also be a place for a better family so they wouldn't have to travel to different cities. Through this, it would get people to local businesses to help them afford to stay open. October 22nd, I ask that everyone take time to vote and think about your future, the future of your kids and your children and your grandchildren. Take this opportunity to make a change. I will work for all of the citizens of Stratford to make the city a better place to be. On October 22nd, vote for Don Robinson. It is a vote for you.
Thank you, Don. Dave Gaffney, 1 minute for closing comments.
We are at a pivotal time in the city's evolution, and would it be a privilege to serve you at the council table. I love this community, and I've devoted my life to making it a better place to live, work, and play. I respectfully ask for your vote on Election Day. I promise to work hard, to draw on my experience, and to listen to your needs and aspirations. A good council will make informed decisions to serve the needs of today, and a great council will make decisions that will serve the needs of generations to come. I want to be part of a great council. Please vote for me, Dave Gaffney, on Election Day. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Dave. Danielle Ingram.
As you've heard from the other candidates, thank you for spending the evening with us tonight. Thank you for taking an interest in Stratford politics. And thank you to the Stratford Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event tonight. I have thoroughly enjoyed the past 4 years and all of the people that I have met and the items that I have worked on at council. I am a hard worker. I am prepared for meetings. I'm a team player, a critical thinker, and I'm approachable. The municipal world has been a part of my life for many years, and with Stratford being my home, I love working for the people of Stratford. I would be honored to serve a second term as councillor for the city of Stratford, and on October 22nd, or in the advance polls if you so choose, I ask that you please vote for Danielle Ingram.
Thanks, Danielle. Dan Wetlaufer, your closing comments, please.
First off, Kathy, I have to disagree. I have a far uglier name than you do. I don't have to talk about my motivation for running. My motivation is a debt that I feel. I love the city, I love the citizens of the city, and I love its history. And I want to pay back that debt. I feel grateful that I've been part of what I have been part of so far. It pains me to see citizens in the city struggle or hurt or even just to worry about the future. I like short-term plans, but I like long-term plans. I want to see plans in place that our grandkids, our great-grandkids will look back and say, those people knew what they were doing. I look forward to talking to you, and thank you very much for coming out tonight.
Thanks, Dan. Dan Graver, you have a minute.
Yeah, just in parting, I just wanted to point out that Stratford is quickly becoming a retirement community. There's nothing wrong with that. It's great. People are moving in out of Toronto, they're cashing in, they're coming, they're buying here. It's driving our prices up. We need to make this community appeasing to young people. Our average age is 45, and it's a multitude of things. It's the housing density that I talked about earlier, and I wasn't able to talk in regards to transit. We need to look at other communities and what they're doing. Innisfil, Ontario was part of the discussion there, and it was pointed out that it's $5 a ride. Well, that $5 a ride is 24 hours a day. And if we talk a little bit too long, anybody took transit might not get home today. These are the things that I stand for and will work for you. And most importantly, October 12th to the 22nd, vote.
Thanks, Dan. Dan Graver. Cody Seven, you have 1 minute.
There's one phrase that I've heard more than any other. We need some new blood on council. I came before you 4 years ago asking for your support and was so humbled by the amount I received. I'm here again, and if elected, I will enter council with enthusiasm and run with each of your issues as if it were my own. I know that many of you are looking for a voice and an ally at City Hall. Here I am. By committing to personally host monthly forums if elected, I'm working to improve accessibility and engagement between Stratford and the people who live here. A vote for me is a demand to have access to and the attention of your elected officials, not every campaign season, but on an ongoing and consistent basis. I'm Cody Sebin. I have a plan, but I need your support. Thank you.
Thanks, Cody. Carla Coles. Carla Coles, you have 1 minute for your closing comment.
I am an artist, an author, and an entrepreneur. I own my own business, and I co-own another. I'm a wife, a mother, and a cafe dweller. I'm a member of Art in the Park, part of several writing groups, and half of the team that brings you the Owl Film Challenge. I'm a library volunteer and a ukulele enthusiast. I'm a person who gets stuff done. I'm a huge advocate of our arts and our community events, big fan of Stratford and its people. I think my enthusiasm and my passion will serve the city well. Thank you.
Thanks, Carla. Brad Beatty.
I would like to finish tonight by saying thank you. It's been both an honor and a privilege to serve you on Stratford City Council for the past 8 years. During this time, in my opinion, Stratford has continued to be a leader as one of the best places to live, work, and play. And I'm very proud to call Stratford my home. There have been many conversations during this election campaign on what our city could or should do, but basically, can we do better? I think so. We should always be looking at how we can raise the bar. But if you're like me, I think our common agreement is this. Stratford is a great community, and we are moving in the right direction. So here's my call to action. I need your help. For a sound voice on council on October 22nd, re-elect Brad Beatty, your first choice on the ballot.
And our final comments tonight, closing comments from Bonnie Henderson.
Great ideas tonight. I've heard and I want to work on these things for you if I get elected. The development of the Grand Trunk Community Hub, getting the seniors into their new facility, increasing affordable housing including RGI, which is your rent geared to income units, connecting the missing links of our sidewalks, fixing the potholes, making all bus stops accessible and on time, implementing more of the multi-use trails, finding new ways to communicate what is going on at the city, development of a citizens advisory committee, starting a composting program, finishing updating our zoning to allow more granny suites, and getting an accessible ramp for this stage. He knows who I'm talking to. I've also been honored to work for you, the citizens of Stratford, and need your vote to continue to raise the issues. I'm here tonight to ask you for that opportunity. Please vote for Bonnie the week of October 12th to the 22nd. I'm number 10 on the ballot. I'm approachable, dedicated, and hardworking. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, a big round of applause for everybody here. Would you mind? All of these people that are on stage, candidates that we had running for mayor, they all share the same passion. We all want something better for the city. So please, stick around afterwards, ask some questions. Please talk to them. Avoid what you're reading on Facebook, on social media, because boy, there's so many different things out there. You're not getting the real. I'm glad you're here tonight to hear what these people are all about. That's what it is about being, and that's why you're here tonight, because you want to find out more, and we appreciate that. We appreciate our sponsors tonight, Vancia Financial, Or Insurance, our volunteers, Rogers, Whiteman, the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for being here. Good night, and make sure you get out and vote. Good job.
The preceding program was brought to you by Whiteman TV,